Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting of April 12th, 2022. It is so good to see everyone, and it is so good to see my council colleagues here in person, especially Councilmember Milberg. I believe this is your first in-person council meeting as a council member.
Thank you.
It's been over 2 years. I think we've had just one in-person council meeting in that time, but it's really good to see everyone here in person, back in the council chambers, and everybody that's joining us virtually as well.
Yes.
Councilmember Eklund?
Aye.
Councilmember Milberg?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Warnick?
Aye.
And Mayor Lucan?
Aye. All right, we're going to go to public comment, and we're going to go public comment for those that are here in person, and then we'll go to public comment for those that are potentially online. Are there any, Theodora?
Our scientists are among the leading experts publishing research on environmental health issues. We recently had a favorable ruling in a lawsuit against the FCC regarding outdated rules on safety limits for wireless radiation, and that includes cell tower radiation. The U.S. Court of Appeals of the District of Columbia Circuit ruled that the FCC had ignored the scientific evidence on the record, over 10,000 pages of evidence, showing harm from wireless radiation, and ordered the FCC to respond and address issues of children's vulnerability as well as long-term exposure. And what that means is that our 26-year-old safety limits, which, by the way, were adopted by industry-filled groups rather than actually developed by the EPA, as you might assume, because the EPA was defunded. But these limits are not scientifically defendable based on any review of the totality of the science. The FCC was unable to produce reports or documentation that the research on long-term exposures had been reviewed, for example, as just one issue. I believe, and the scientists who are our advisors, the United States should ensure accountability in regards to wireless exposures. We expect that, of course, the totality of the science has been reviewed by our government experts, except it has not. And although we might assume regulatory agencies with health expertise, such as the National Cancer Institute, EPA, FDA, and CDC, are monitoring and reviewing the latest science on cell tower exposures, they are not full stop. Last month, a California mother wrote the FCC asking if the cell tower in front of her home, the small cell, was safe. The FCC lawyer told her that as long as FCC limits are met, the radiation was deemed by the FDA, unquote, not to show adverse health effects in humans. So the mother wrote the FDA asking for safety data, and the FDA lawyer wrote back and said, the FDA does not regulate cell towers or cell tower radiation. Therefore, the FDA has no studies or information on cell towers to provide in response to your questions. Now, if the FDA is not evaluating the science on cell tower radiation, then what agency is? And the answer is there is no regulatory agency with any health expertise addressing this issue. Because sometimes a scandal in our government is not what is legal, but not what is illegal, but what is legal. So I hope that you will consider this as you move forward with decisions about telecommunications. And I'm glad to answer any questions. I also can follow up with some research so that you have to understand what the science is showing. Many communities are establishing setbacks to protect neighborhoods, especially in light of the lack of a review of the science. There has been no completion of any review of the science. And I would be the first to tell you—
if you could wrap up your comment. Your time is
sure.
up.
Oh, yeah. One thing I would just mention is that New Hampshire has a state bill proposed that's looking at a 1,640-foot setback for cell installation. Thank you.
So I believe that was just a general public comment. Welcome, Steve.
Hi. Hi, my name is Steve Glanz, and I'm a Novato resident. I attest and affirm that the following statements are true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. Tonight, well-informed Novato residents will be entering substantial written evidence into the city's public record regarding 4 AT&T applications for so-called small wireless telecommunications facilities placed on average very, very close from homes and a school. We are asking the city to do the following. Number one, direct the planning department to deny all 4 applications. Number 2, direct the planning department to require much more detailed evidence from the applicant to ensure compliance with all relevant federal, state, and local laws, including Nevada's own wireless ordinance. Number 3, use our existing ordinance to hire neutral radio frequency and legal consultants at the applicant's expense. Number 4, deem all 4 applications incomplete until the FCC completes the DC Circuit Court-mandated environmental review of the entire 1 million cell rollout. The FCC was mandated to do so in 2 court rulings, which I submit into the record. Once in 2019 in Kitoa et al. Versus FCC, and again in 2021 in EHT-CHT versus FCC. Number 5, provide more transparency in the application process, including timely notice, placing all relevant data on the website as soon as it arrives, and passing a stronger wireless ordinance that protects residences. The city's hands were never tied. It seems the city of Novato did not complete proper due diligence when it voted through its 2019 emergency wireless ordinance. At present, the city is unwittingly taking on big wireless liabilities by allowing applicants to rent the city's light poles to be used as cell towers without passing sufficient regulations. I'm also entering into the public record a 2017 letter, a legal analysis from Novato attorney Harry Lehman to the California Assembly Appropriations Committee. The letter outlines the liability transfer inherent in wireless industry master licensing agreements, which persuaded the state to shoot down Senate Bill 649, the small cell bill that was vetoed by Governor Brown in 2017. The largest reinsurers in the world evaluated the independent science about adverse biological effects from wireless RF microwave radiation and specifically excluded all claims of injury, illness, or death from that radiation from any general liability insurance. The smart money acted. They don't want another asbestos debacle on their hands. The wireless industry is busy transferring these liabilities to the city of Novato, which means that any future claims will be paid by the taxpayers to cover the disasters created by Big Wireless's defective service, which could bankrupt the city. Finally, I encourage readers and listeners to visit our website, wirednovato.org. I've expressed no matter of mere concern, but solely matters of substance, fact, and law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Piper Perot.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. My name is Piper Perot, and I'm a Novato resident. I attest and affirm that the following statements are true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. 4 AT&T wireless facility applications were received by Novato's planning department on Friday, February 25th of this year. The fate of 4 neighborhoods now rests in the Director of Community and Economic Development's hands. AT&T's applications show a complete disregard of Novato's urgency wireless ordinance, and they will put residents in harm's way. Novato's 2019 urgency wireless ordinance is actually not sufficiently protective and does not consider the serial losses by the FCC in the U.S. Courts of Appeals in August 2019, October 2019, August 2020, and August 2021, which revealed the whole industry-pushed idea of needing small wireless facilities anywhere near residential zones was a lie from the very beginning. A lie now even admitted by the wireless industry itself. What is Novato's best move right now? Number 1, deny all 4 of these applications by strictly applying the provisions of both of Novato's existing wireless ordinances, the one from 2012 and the much larger edition in 2019. Number 2, reject all wireless industry propaganda and data that is non-substantive, including analysis by Hammett and Edison and CTC Technology, which their data is included in the applications from AT&T, and we do not feel that that is non-biased data. Number 3, overhaul the 2019 Urgency Wireless Ordinance to say no to wireless telecommunications facilities of any kind within 1,500 feet of residential zones. This is legal and defensible. The city must provide to Novato residents actual public safety and privacy which are our inalienable rights because you took an oath to uphold the state constitution before you started serving. And you are also bound by the 2019 California Supreme Court ruling in T-Mobile versus San Francisco, which says that wireless telecommunications facilities of any size or any G, quote, might generate noise, cause negative health consequences, or create safety concerns. All these impacts could disturb public road use or disturb its quiet enjoyment, end quote. Please protect our quiet enjoyment of streets by forcing AT&T to provide all of the data requested by the City of Novato residents to prove if these applications are even needed to close a significant gap in telecommunications coverage. I personally went to all 4 sites and have checked. There is a full cell coverage in all 4 sites where they want to install these antennas.
Okay, thank you, Piper.
Thank you.
Next up is Philip Wyatt. And as Philip comes up, I'm just going to, we typically have a protocol in council chambers that we don't encourage or have clapping after public comment. Tonight, it sounds like these are all in support, but sometimes we have issues where you have opposing views in the audience and then you get clapping and you get booing. And so if you can refrain from clapping, it would be much appreciated. Thank you. Philip.
Thank you for having us, and thanks for listening to us, and we appreciate that. So my name is Philip Wyatt. I'm a Novato resident, and I attest and affirm that the following statements are true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. The City of Novato can learn how to reliably deny wireless telecommunications facility applications by citing substantial written evidence in its public record. A 2019 appeal hearing in Seaside, California features Mayor Ian Oglesby showing other cities how to do exactly that. This is a YouTube video which is on the paper that I submitted. The key is to base wireless telecommunications facility placement decisions solely on true and verified substantial written evidence that has been entered into the public record. Wireless companies consistently enter the least amount of information possible and enter fraudulent information during the application process. According to top U.S. telecom attorney in the U.S., Andrew Campanelli, quote, "In my experience, in 90% of the applications I have seen, the applicant has submitted false and misleading information, and it is not by mistake." Mr. Campanelli continues, "Cities can force applicants to provide substantial evidence, not the bogus propagation maps provided by many applicants. Without the data behind the maps, no one can determine if the propagation maps are worth the papers on which they are written. No federal court would accept a propagation map without verification. Hard data will show if there is a gap and where its boundaries are. Then and only then can a city make a factual determination if the proposed location is consistent with the city's general plan and the local ordinances. Usually the proposed sites are not necessary. Novato must make the determination if the applicant has proven a significant gap in telecommunication service or not. Therefore, the city must demand the substantial written information from the applicant to enable to make this determination. Two things will do that. Number one, demand from AT&T 12 months of completed dropped call records in the target search ring for each wireless telecommunications facility, and require this information of the applicant before deeming the application complete. Two.
Philip, we're at 3 minutes, so if you could just make one last point.
One last point, yes.
Make it quick.
Thank you. Number two, institute a written evidence wireless antenna needed test in telecommunications. This is a comprehensive wireless signal strength test to be conducted every 6 months by an independent engineer who will meet the wireless signal strength levels.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thanks for listening.
Next is it Manel? Manel? My apologies if I've... Mariel. I blame my penmanship, actually. Mariel.
It's a little easier to read
Yep.
along as you're Okay. Good evening. My name is Mariel Sablon, and I am a Novato resident. I attest and affirm that the following statements are true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. In San Rafael in 2019, informed residents convinced the planning director to deny the applications of the multinational corporation Crown Castle for 4 wireless telecommunication facilities that were to be placed directly in front of homes. That decision by the planning director withstood all challenges. Novato can do the same by learning from other cities how to skillfully deny wireless facilities applications and not get sued, as you can read in the previous comment. After denying these 4 applications, please learn from and apply the lessons from protective wireless telecommunications facility ordinances that were passed in San Anselmo, Fairfax, Mill Valley, Petaluma, Sebastopol, and Sonoma, and other California cities back in 2018 and 2019. Ordinances which are far better than our current emergency urgency ordinance. To assist the finding for denial, tonight I am entering into the public record over 11,000 pages of peer-reviewed scientific evidence that the Environmental Health Trust, of whom you've heard from the executive director this evening, Theodora Scarotto, and Children's Health Defense, and other plaintiffs placed in the FCC's public record in their successful lawsuit against the FCC, which received a ruling on August 13, 2021. The D.C. Circuit judges ruled the following in Case 20-1025. We grant the petitions in part and remand to the Commission to provide a reasoned explanation for its determination that its guidelines adequately protect against harmful effects of exposure to radio frequency microwave radiation. It must, in particular, provide a reasoned explanation for its decision to retain its testing procedures for determining whether cell phones and other portable electronic devices comply with its guidelines, to address the impacts of RF radiation on children, the health implications of long-term exposure to RF radiation, the ubiquity of wireless devices, and other technological developments that have occurred since the Commission last updated its guidelines, and 3, address the impacts of RF radiation on the environment. Wireless radio frequency microwave radiation is bioactive and is currently being insufficiently regulated. Therefore, each locality can regulate the maximum power output of microwave radiation from wireless infrastructure antennas that reaches any areas accessible to human beings, consistent with the evidence in the 27 PDFs that I am adding by reference tonight into the Novato City Public Record. I encourage you to check out these links. As well as please go to wirenovato.org, the website created for this issue, to keep updated on planning department actions, council actions, residents' comments, and the science regarding the threats to public safety of wireless facilities near residences. I've expressed no matter of mere concern, but solely matters of substance, fact, and law, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mariel. Next up is Carolyn Leonard. Welcome, Carolyn.
Good evening, Mayor Lucan and council, staff. My name is Carolyn Leonard, and I blew in from Terralinda. We're calling it Terrawinda today. And I'm carrying a cell phone, but I want you to know your safety is really important to me. It's on airplane mode, as it has been since the meeting began. In the interest of accuracy, I'd like to present the following information that I attest, and I affirm that it is true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. The City of Novato is bound by the North Circuit appellate rulings, including a 2005 ruling in Metro PCS versus San Francisco, which defines a significant gap in coverage test for wireless telecommunications. And it requires wireless companies to use the least intrusive means to address any gaps. Constructing new wireless transmission facilities closer than 1,500 feet from residences is not the least intrusive means. Co-locating wireless antennas on existing wireless transmission facilities is the way to go. The City of Novato does not need to fall victim to the wireless industry's propaganda. The FCC has no say over local zoning other than listing their preferences, guidance, and presumptions in FCC orders, such as FCC 18133, the small cell deployment order. But many FCC orders from the years 2017 to 2021 have been vacated and remanded by the U.S. Courts of Appeal. These orders cannot take away local zoning authority, which has been granted to Novato by the state of California. So two top telecom attorneys, Andrew Campanelli and W. Scott McCullough, provide expert advice to cities at their websites, wireamerica.org. On March 29th, McCullough said on YouTube, here's what cities can do. McCullough, a city can say, we don't want these things in a residential area. Interviewer said, Petaluma did that in 2018. McCullough, that's right. The only exception is that if the wireless provider can show that it must put a wireless transmission facility at a specific location in a residential area, because that's the only way that they can provide the telecommunications service, meaning not putting it there would result in an effective prohibition of the ability to make outdoor wireless phone calls. Then they can prevail. Providing that is a hard task for a wireless company. McCullough also adds, unless they can prove it is an effective prohibition of telecommunications service, then a city can deny the wireless transmission facility. So an ordinance a city can pass is, we're saying nothing in residential areas. Indeed, we are saying nothing within 1,500 feet of any residential area.
Thank you, Carolyn. If you could wrap up.
One more sentence. I implore the City of Novato to deny or freeze AT&T's use permit applications, reform planning department's procedures and transparency, and demand evidence-based applications.
Thank you.
Upgrade and formalize the city's wireless ordinance.
Thank you. I just want to say that I think these people here that are concerned about cellular transmissions have very legitimate concerns, and I'd like to offer my testimony on their behalf. On September 12th, 2021, I was attacked at a political rally in San Rafael. Some of you I know have heard about that. My skull was severely fractured, requiring surgery and several titanium plates to be put in my head as a result to repair me. Shortly after that, during my healing process, I noticed that if I held the cell phone up to the left side of my head, I would get electric shocks in my head. Excuse me. I thought it was coincidence, and I started holding the phone on the other side of my head where there are no titanium plates, and the sensation was reduced but still there. I find that I still get those if I wear a Bluetooth in the right side, but I can't get near a cell signal. Now, I've noticed it get worse as soon as we started testing and implementing 5G. It got exponentially worse. There's not only electric shocks that I feel, but I feel pain when I get near a 5G transmission tower. It was noticeably, I took 2 road trips in that time, and when we'd get near a cell tower, I'd start getting electric shocks, and then it would turn to pain. We'd get away from the cell tower, and it would subside. And we went on some substantial trips. I notice in certain areas I feel it more than others. If I have my cell phone up, but not only that, but if I go near a cell tower, or for instance, in my dining room window, there's a slider door, and it looks up to the ridge in Ignacio where all our towers are. And there's a direct line of sight from that tower through that window to a table where I sit and do most of my work. On that window, I found, and I have photographs in my phone right now, I'd be happy to show you, I found images, circular images that in the dirty window, in the dust in the dirty window, these geometric figures formed. It started, there was 2, then there was 3. Now there's 8 of those images on my windows. And from where I sit with my phone and do my work, direct line of sight to that tower is where the signal is coming from. And it's creating these images in my window, and it's giving me pain and electric shocks in my face. I've never experienced that before. I've heard of EMFs and radio frequencies hurting people, and I never gave it a second thought until I had this surgery, and now I feel I'm hypersensitive to radio frequencies, and it gives me electric shocks and pain inside my head. Now,
Are you with us?
I am. Thank you very much for the time. I test and affirm the following statements are true, accurate, and within my personal knowledge. I'm the founder of Wire America, an organization that advocates for broadband via fiber optics and only calls and texts via wireless. Now, Wire America helps secure vetoes of two important California state telecom bills. SB 649 in 2017, I spoke to Governor Jerry Brown one day before he vetoed. And SB 556 in 2021, we made a direct video address to Newsom 3 days before he vetoed. These bills would have wiped out cities' local control over cell tower siting. As a result, today, all California cities maintain their zoning authority over the placement, construction, and operations of wireless telecommunications facilities of any size or any G, or WTF for short. Now, we all understand the following. Good faith is honesty or lawfulness of purpose, and bad faith is a lack of honesty in dealing with other people. When 4 AT&T WTF applications were filed on February 25th, an act of good faith would have been to immediately notice the public about the hazardous WTFs as close as 20 feet from homes, consistent with Novato's 2019 urgency wireless ordinance. But city staff did not do that. Instead, city staff has been sitting on these applications for 40-plus days, has not noticed a single resident, and today refused to answer direct questions about why that happened. This weekend, however, Novato residents took matters into their own hands and, in good faith, passed out hundreds of flyers to let the people in these affected neighborhoods know they would face significant nuisances, hazards, and diminished public safety, privacy, and property values, all caused by these proposed WTFs, as evidenced by the data placed in Novato's public record this evening. Now, more examples of bad faith were broadcast on March 12th in a national podcast of The Verge entitled, "From the Beginning, 5G Millimeter Wave Was a Big Fat Lie." Apple's March 8th, 2022 release of the new third-generation iPhone SE proves it. This new iPhone, built without millimeter wave antennas, uncovers the deception that so-called small cells were ever needed in residential zones. They are not. On March 12th, The Verge editor-in-chief Nilay Patel said at 7:45 in the podcast, "The millimeter wave thing was a lie, and now we can all admit it was a lie." AT&T offered their own deception by labeling 4G service as 5GE. It's been at least 4 years of 5G millimeter wave lies. This new iPhone is proof that all of this fake-out was just a lie to raise prices. The only reason Novato's 2019 urgency wireless ordinance has a list of most preferred, less preferred, and least preferred locations is because the Novato's contract city attorney did not sufficiently learn from the FCC's defeats in the U.S. Courts of Appeal, and he lacks the discernment to separate wheat from chaff, the propaganda from true, verified information. Attorney Scott McCullough, who argued and won the AHT and CHD case against the FCC, already told you the truth in an earlier comment. An ordinance the city can pass is, quote, "We're saying no to WTFs in residential areas, just like Petaluma. Indeed, we're saying no WTFs within 1,500 feet of any residential area. I've expressed no matter of mere concern, but solely matters of substance, fact, and law. Thank you."
Thank you.